And we are live. This is Travis Witherspoon from Carter Cow Capital, helping you fight for your financial freedom throughout the Forex market. This is a evening episode of Trade with Travis. Hopefully everybody's doing very well. Hopefully everybody end up having a very good trading day. Like what I ended up saying before in the morning session, in which we've actually done change the morning sessions to be or to start off at what was the time that we ended up doing earlier this morning? I believe it was 6:30 a.m. We're gonna end up doing 6:30 a.m. for the next for at least the next week, and then after that, depending on how everything kind of plays out, it probably might end up being at 7:30, or probably might end up going back to our regular scheduled time from 8 to 8:30. But it's probably going to end up being a very tight window when it comes down to that. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get through the disclaimer. We'll talk about how we end up doing today. End up having over a 10K day when it came down to all of the trades in general. End up flipping our small account. Actually end up doing a 100% gain on our small account today as well, which was actually pretty cool. So I'm going to end up showing you in particular how to be able to do it from a small account perspective, how to be able to do it from a large account perspective, and then what we end up doing for the overall trade. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm not a CTA, so I'm not going to tell you whether to buy or to sell. What I'm going to do is teach you education. And from the education, you can be able to make your own informed decision. Now, understand that trading involves risk. It involves risk of being able to make money, also involves risk of being able to lose money. So please keep that in mind. And understand that past performance is not indicative of future results, which means that if you end up making money yesterday, it's not promise that you're going to end up making money today. So with that being said, as we go through and take a look at the charts and take a look at how well we end up doing for trades and everything goes, I always ask for everybody's participation. I always ask because I'm not able to see how many people are actually live trading at this particular point anymore. Please make sure that you end up typing in inside of the chat box. Make sure that you end up saying, hey, make sure that you're always being, make sure that I can be able to see what you are interested in when it comes down to trading pairs. Don't mind being able to talk about those. I would like to be able to get out of here in about 30 minutes if possible. But if it goes over longer, then like always, we end up taking the time to be able to do whatever it takes for us to be able to get some actual trading opportunities when it comes down to trading pairs, and kind of go from there. So taking a look at the economic calendar, obviously we didn't have anything earlier today. What's going on, Bone Daddy Franchise? Hope everything's going well with you. If you have a trading pair that you're interested in being able to talk about, place it inside of the chat box. But essentially, there was really nothing that was going to end up affecting what's going to happen with the overall market. And the one thing that I wanted to be able to make sure that we talked about earlier in our last session and even on the Friday session was that we wanted to be able to take advantage of that because we knew that there wasn't going to be a lot of news that was going to end up coming up at the beginning of the week. That meant that I planned that we were going to end up getting into with most of the index pairs would probably end up working out because there was really nothing to be able to officially move the market for its overall pairs. CAD yen, I'll make sure I end up taking a note of that as we go through and take a look at these pairs. So most of these setups are already 80% of the way done or already have finished up. For the people that end up getting to these pairs, obviously, good job for being patient, allowing the market to be able to develop. Obviously, we're about halfway there, but I do think that the market will have to be able to drop first before trying to get into any other moves. But we will talk about those as well. So I'm going to start off with the indexes first, and then out there we'll talk about every other pair moving forward. So let's start off on US 30. US 30 was our biggest mover of the day. We talked about this from what's going on, El Trav? What's going on? I hope everything's going well. Hey, speaking of that, end up having an excellent conversation with this guy and end up learning a lot of his overall trading strategies, his overall thought process, and he's somewhat new to TradingView. If you would, make sure that you end up taking a look at his overall page. I think that he's getting to a point where he's going to start doing some live streams. So it's always cool being able to talk to another fellow trader and being able to hear people's thought processes and everything else like that. I think he's a guy that I think you should pay attention to and at least be able to give a follow to. So please make sure that you end up talking and seeing what he has for his overall page. But with that being said, let's take a look at what ended up happening based off of the hour. As we end up seeing this overall move develop, we talked about how this market was in consolidation from August 30th all the way until September 13th. And when the market ended up breaking out of this, I ended up saying this verbatim. I said that we're going to end up probably having about two opportunities to be able to catch this overall move. The first one was when the market ended up breaking out on that Thursday, when it ended up going about 291 points. And then after that, when the market broke out of this full consolidation, they ended up lasting for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 days before its overall movement. Then from there, we talked about how we were seeing this large gap that we ended up taking advantage of three different times over the summer. The first time was in the market ended up doing that quick $10,000 drop when Jerome Powell actually ended up talking the first time. And then after that, we ended up talking about how it ended up moving in early July when the market gave us that big push out of consolidation for that movement. So this is the same movement that we end up seeing most of our explosive trades come from. So I was very comfortable being able to say to everyone that all we have to do is be able to be patient, allow the market to be able to break out of this consolidation, and then after that, go after this large low volume node that we end up having from this actual space inside. And I think that we have a little bit more space, but I think that what's happening overall, you look at the overall consolidation, we're kind of bumping up against the bottom portion of it. So I think that's the reason why the market started to consolidate a little bit more earlier today, or a little bit more right after 2 o'clock today when the market ended up hitting that position. Now, our full take profit positions on this one end up being at 32,640 and 32,740 respectively. I don't know if it's going to end up getting up to that point based off of at least based off of what I'm seeing at the beginning of the morning, but I do expect based off of the market kind of fulfilling this overall move and going up 300 points today and another 200 points on Sunday, that we probably might end up seeing that this market will start to consolidate on the 15-minute before actually being able to make a true move. We can see that obviously this consolidation, we can see that this market has started to be able to create a trend and it's starting to get a little bit more parabolic. It ended up creating a triangle a little bit earlier today, based off of, let me get rid of this and kind of show this a little bit more. Kind of seeing that the market has been going into a little bit of a triangle pattern, which means that obviously that's going to end up being a breakout that will end up happening at some point in time, because it is starting to get a little bit smaller. I do expect that the market will continue to move up to the upside and finally complete the market de-extension for that low volume node that we end up talking about. But in this case, you got to be a little bit more patient to be able to allow the market to be able to make this full move all the way up to where we expect that the market is going to end up going. And just like anything, it's going to take a little bit of patience to be able to get there. But I do think overall 32,640 will probably end up being the best position to be able to get out of all of the pairs, or to be able to get out of all of the move if you have not got out of it as of yet. I end up taking profit today. I end up making about 10K based off of that move. Now the thing is, I'm waiting for a retracement or waiting for this triangle to be able to break out in a position to finally give us another move to be able to get into. So if you end up getting into this move a little bit early on Friday and on Thursday, congratulations. I would say the biggest thing right now is to be patient. Obviously, the 15-minute is in the buy zone, but I'm seeing a lot of false breaks. And because this market has made a significant amount of movement at this particular point, you may want to be a little bit more patient based off of this. Market's already going to move about 800 points to the upside at this particular point. So allow it to be able to drop. If it does drop, then after that, look at being able to catch it up to supports. But other than that, we're about halfway there when it comes down to this movement. Let's go with DAX. DAX really didn't give off as much of a move that we end up expecting. The market is actually in consolidation at this point. I have a pending order that's kind of set up and ready to go at 13,430. With the stop loss being below the overall, with the stop loss being below the support at 13,338. So I had 13,335 as the natural position. The risk reward factor on this one is going to end up being a 1 to 1.92. Not necessarily a 1 to 2 risk reward ratio, but obviously you want to pull your stop loss to the middle of the, or right below the actual, right below the actual point of control, then you can. Me personally, I've been seeing that the market has been bouncing and basically striking that actual position. So I will be a little bit more will be a little bit more conservative and place my stop loss below that actual consolidation before being able to make a move. Now, if you look at this overall area in this low volume node pocket, we're still talking about a large pickup or movement that we can be able to get. There's two different areas where you can be able to take profit. The first one will end up being at 13,510. And if we end up zooming out and kind of getting a little bit more space, we could be able to see that 13,620 will be another natural location of being able to get out of this. So I think going into tomorrow, because we're going to end up having high impact news that could affect the market with consumer price indexes, you may end up seeing that the market may be a little bit stagnant at the beginning of the morning, or it may end up fulfilling the overall position first, and then after that, kind of giving some erratic movement, either to the upside or to the downside based off of that. I do believe that the only order that I will look at being able to take would still be a pending order for its buying. It will kind of match up with this movement. They end up happening at August 19th for the overall movement from there. But risk reward, if you end up cutting it down to 13,510, it will actually probably end up being more of a 1-to-1. I don't like it being a 1-to-1. If it's that close, I would try to see if I can kind of squeeze out as much as I can at 13,620. If you don't feel comfortable with that risk reward factor, once again, like always, don't take the trade and just go ahead and look for the next one to be able to happen. Remember, all of these moves, all of these pairs have had an explosive move on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, so there could be a retracement that could potentially end up happening in the very near future. But because DAX is truly inside of a consolidation box, I would treat that one a little bit more seriously than what's happening with certain other pairs. Nas 100, if we end up taking a look at this move, we end up catching about 80% of that move at this particular point. Still has a little bit of ways to go. Based off of the hour, what we ended up saying was that this market was breaking out of that large consolidation. They ended up happening from August 30th all the way until obviously September 12th. Once the market ended up breaking out of that area, we're still thinking about taking this market all the way up to 12,820. Currently, right now, we're about 70 points away from that, fulfilling that actual position. So in this case, this will be more of a scalp for us being able to take that move. There's a triangle, or there is a counter trend line break that has not been broken yet. Been kind of playing me when it comes down to this overall move. It's still kind of bouncing off of this overall trend line. So as long as it's respecting this trend line and it breaks a counter trend line break to the upside, then I would be interested in being able to buy. But at this point, when it comes down to your stop loss and everything else, the stop loss will have to be below the swing low. And if you end up doing something like that, then it will probably end up being a break above stop. We end up being just below the overall swing low. Probably end up going about 30 points from there, going after that 12,000, what I said, 12,820, I believe. Let's see, let's go back to the hour. If you want to be conservative, you can get out of 12,820. If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, you can get out at the 12,860 area that we originally end up saying. I'm trying to look and see which pair I'm actually going to end up being a little bit more aggressive on. I don't think it'll probably end up being Nas. Nas has a little bit. Nas has a shorter way of being able to go, but I don't think that I'll be interested in being able to pull the trigger on that one if the risk reward factor is not going to end up being to my liking. Last one, XVX 500. XVX 500 completed that move. It's already done. That move ended up being done at 4,110. We end up catching a move when it broke out at 4,016. So you end up getting 100 points off of that movement. It was a 1-to-3 risk reward ratio. We end up getting all 3% of that. All of that risk reward factor when it came down to that movement. So congratulations for everybody. They ended up taking that trade on Friday. Now with this one, we're just waiting for consolidation to be able to start. When that consolidation actually starts, we can be able to box that out, and then after that, look for the next opportunity. But I perceive that the next opportunity would not be until the market actually ends up breaking above 4,140, and then after that, we'll be trying to go after that 4,200 area, right around 4,250, for the next position to be able to get in. So You want to start looking at being able to place in your pending orders. I would look at being able to place in a pending order just above. Let's see. We'll go back to the previous consolidation. Um, Anything above 4,140, you want to be a little bit more conservative and go above this consolidation that we end up having um, from August 22nd to August 24th. You can say just above 4150 as the next position to be able to get in. But either way, there is another pending order that you can be able to place in that's using strategy 2 when it comes down to the vortex strategy for us being able to get in. I would say entry right here, take profit, will end up being, let me zoom out just a little bit more, make sure I get this right. Based off of that information, I'm going to have to wait a little bit. Matter of fact, I'll wait. I'm not gonna suggest that plan yet. We're running against too much of a high volume node in that area. Which is better for a beginner, scalping or swinging? Bone, answer this question. What is your patience level? The reason why I asked that question before kind of answering the question is because if you're more of a person that is, let's say you have a little bit more time to stay on the charts and you can be patient with the moves that you want to be able to see develop, I always kind of lean to swing trading. Reason being is because you can be able to make a lot more without having to be able to look at the charts all day long. If you're a person that has a little bit more free time and you're interested in being able to get in and being able to get out of a movement very quickly, and you can be able to stay on the charts a little bit more, then I would say scalping. But me personally, long term, I think the bet for people that are a little bit more patient and you can be able to have the market kind of swing against you and kind of go for you um, based off of time, I will always say swing trading. But I will say this: you have to be able to have a strategy for swing trading and scalping. And whether if your plan can kind of do a mixture of both. Let's say if you're a Fibonacci trader and if you want to scalp based off of Fibonacci's, then you can scalp based off of the 15-minute, or you can swing trade based off of the hour or the 2 hour time frame. You still have to have some type of strategy for both. I always say that it's more of being able to have, I think that you have to have 3 different strategies or 3 different types of mindsets because there's really 3 different markets. There's a trending market where the market making higher highs and higher lows, um, where you can easily see what the market is doing for its overall direction. There's obviously consolidated markets where you end up having a clear defined range of support and resistance. You have to have a strategy for that as well. And then after that, obviously, we talk about what happens when the market's in explosive trade areas, meaning that it's in a high volume node and it's showing consolidation. And this is a low volume node that we can be able to take advantage of. So we end up placing in more of our efforts, especially in this live stream, for us being able to find those explosive areas and being able to get into the market. Now, that style and what we're actually doing can be a scalping type of system and can be a swing trading type of system. Um, it's just the overall mentality of how long or how much patience you actually have to allow the market to be able to move in the direction that you want. But to be honest, make mistakes on all of them, especially on demo, and then figure out which one you end up feeling better with. Once you end up doing that, then that's the style that makes you feel more comfortable. Whatever style makes you feel more comfortable, whatever style makes a lot more, whatever style makes money for you, and whatever style makes sense for you to be able to do it, then obviously that's the one that is probably the better answer. But going back to XPX 500, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait until I kind of get a little bit more information. Probably the better trade will end up being above 4160 instead of 4150, because that means that we truly get out of this consolidation zone. They end up happening in early July and obviously in early August or mid-August when it came down to that movement. Now, let's go ahead and go over to and take a look at some of these Forex pairs. We end up taking a look at CAD yen. Answer this question: are you looking at being able to buy or looking at being able to sell on CAD yen. This will kind of give me an idea. Are we looking at buying or are we looking at selling? I'm guessing you're going to say buy. Oh, you're trying to sell. Okay. I can understand why you're trying to sell. I'm gonna say this before. Well, it'll come up while we're going through it. So, um, if we take a look at what's happening based off of this swing, the market has completed the ABCD D extension, right? So A, B, C, market hit this D extension, end up pushing up to 109.75. Currently, right now, the market's already done hit that D extension on the weekly. Now, the older the time frame, the more important the information. Because the weekly has hit a D extension for this movement, that means to me that I am done trading this overall move. I would not consider taking a trade until there's a actual retracement. That's me personally. But now let's talk about if you're looking at being able to sell, what will happen for that overall movement? What could be a possibility? Currently, right now, there's no fractal high to be able to work off of, so that means that you're trying to catch a falling knife, which means to me I would kind of be a little bit more patient on being able to say if I'm going to end up taking a sale, where my sale is going to end up being at. So market was in consolidation for a very long time, broke out of that consolidation, completed the extension at 109.75. If we go through and take a look at this hourly trend line in the 1 hour, that's a small buy. Let's see. Let's take a look at that. See, there goes your outer trend line. Here goes your inner trend line right here. And at this particular point, because we went parabolic, we can go with the innermost trend line. Bone, to answer your question, if I'm looking at being able to sell, and right now we're at if we're looking at this for say as a opportunity of being able to get into a move and to be able to scalp it or to be able to swing trade it, whatever you're trying to be able to do, I would not make a move until the market ends up breaking that innermost trend line. Until the market actually ends up making this break right here and then retests and then starts to give you that type of movement, I would not consider any movement off of this for selling yet, because the market has not proven that it's ready to fall down and actually sell. Type in a while, yes, if that makes sense. The market went parabolic. The market is kind of in a consolidation, but there's no proof that the market is ready to be able to fall. So if we're looking at what's happening from a mindset of people, even though that the D extension has completed, there's still probably a little bit more bullish intention when it comes down to this overall movement. Now, let's talk about if you were trying to buy, what would that look like for this overall movement, and kind of going from there. Obviously, we'll go down to a smaller time frame and kind of take a look at that. I'm going to start off this fractal right where the consolidation support actually ended up hitting the last time. Let's see what's actually happening for that movement. Yes, can drop to get those trend lines to continue up to the upside. I actually agree with that. But even with that being said, I'm still going to be honest with you. I still would not take this trade. I would not take the trade because the weekly is completed the extension. That's, once again, that's me just talking personally for its overall movement. Now, if I'm looking at this from a 2-hour perspective, market is in consolidation. Because the market is in consolidation at this particular point, once again, I would kind of stay away from it. But if you kind of mark this up and you kind of see that we have a natural support, we have a natural resistance. The natural resistance is at 110.20. Natural support is at 109. I'm going to say 109.50 for that overall movement. I would not make a move to the upside, I would not make a move to the upside until the market actually ends up breaking above the overall high that we just talked about for that number. That was at 109. I'm sorry, the high was at 110.20. So if it breaks above 110.20, then you can look at being able to scalp it up to 111.49. Or better yet, let's go even tighter and try to see if you can do it based off of 15-minute. Because once again, I think this is more of a scalpable position than it is a buying position. Okay, so I don't even like that. I don't even like it based off of 15-minute, if I'm being honest. You're not going to have enough risk reward. Let me explain why you're probably not going to have enough risk reward. If we go based off of the ABCDs, marketing, they're retracing down to the 8.6. Because they're retracing down to the 8.6, then the D extension is going to be at the 118, which means that it's going to end up being at 110.36. Yes, that's just consolidation on the inside. But I will wait I'll wait for the market to be able to break out of that. If it breaks out of that, it's going to break above 110.20. If it breaks out of 110.20, then that means that really and truthfully, you're only going to have about 12 pips of overall space to be able to make a profit off of that. It's not worth it. I wouldn't pull the trigger on that trade at all. Not to the upside. And that confirmed it. I wouldn't do anything with that. Hopefully that helps out. But I don't know if that's the answer that you wanted to be able to hear. But to the upside, I wouldn't do anything. To the downside, I wait for the market to be able to break the counter trend line and be able to go with it. It'd be better off saving your money and then using that for another pair. Let's go through Bitcoin real quick. Let's take a look and see what's happening with that market. Bitcoin is back inside of consolidation. Market is on its way down on a swing, going all the way down to 10,835 if that does happen. To be honest, I don't think that it will. But because market is in consolidation for its overall movement, there goes your resistance, there goes your natural supports. There's really no trade to be able to take off of Bitcoin, which means that there's no trade off of Bitcoin. There's probably no trade off of Ethereum. Let's see what's happening with Ethereum. Ethereum retraced all the way up to the 618, which means that the extension is at the 1.618. Currently, the market fell all the way down to $700, and currently right now has broken the inner trend line, which means that it should gravitate toward the outer trend line, but it's kind of getting kind of stagnant again. What I would pay attention to off of this is there goes your outer trend line. If this market falls, your inner trend line has already been broken. I believe that the market will gravitate more towards this bottom area first before being able to make a move. If it breaks it to the downside, which will end up being right around 1,400 if I'm looking at this number right. Yeah, if it breaks it below 1,400, then after that, now you have an opportunity to being able to make a movement. But I think that, once again, if you go back and we talk about, let's talk about mindset of people, right? People are way more interested in being able to buy on items than they are selling. Especially when it comes down to stock items, especially when it comes down to Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything else like that. People are still not trading it with a lot of margin unless you're a very skilled trader when it comes down to being able to make that movement. So even though it may end up falling down to 1,400, I think that people will look at being able to buy it. I would not do anything with Ethereum either at this particular point, just based off of that. You're not getting enough room to be able to make enough movement off of it. The daily's in the sell zone, so I do expect that the market's going to end up falling. The daily's in the sell zone off of Bitcoin, so once again, I do expect that the market may end up giving a little bit of a fall before being able to make a movement. But currently, right now, there's really nothing there. Got it. Any other pairs? Any other things that anybody would like to be able to go over? We went through US 30, DAX, NAS 100, XVX 500. Went through CAD Yen. Went through Bitcoin. Went through Ethereum. Let's talk about gold, um, and we'll talk about oil. Once again, I have basically said the same thing about gold since really the beginning of us starting this. But let's talk about, if you were trading inside of this, what would you particularly do, or what would I particularly do based off of this movement? Um, Obviously, I see that the market has a natural support at 1685. There's a natural resistance at 2070. Currently, right now, the midpoint is right around 1872. I end up saying personally that I would not make any trade until the market either broke below 1685 or broke above 1800 and then started to move up to 1872. If you look at it, our previous consolidation box was from 1872 all the way until 1800, and then after that fell down to 1685 for us through for us that. Uh, do you do one-on-one with your setups? Yes, I do. Um, do me a favor, just hit me up on a private message, and I give you the information to one of the free webinars that I end up giving out. I end up talking about this trading strategies. I end up kind of figuring out what you do well, and kind of personalize it to that. And then also we have our different courses, our automation systems, and all other stuff. But we'll set up a time based off of your schedule to be able to uh, meet the needs of what you think that will end up being best for you when it comes down to trading. Um, but we're seeing the market end up hitting 1685 twice. Currently, right now, the market is actually pushing up to the upside. I will almost say that more people will probably be interested in still being able to buy this up and trying to get it up to the midway point. Me personally, I'm still not in the mood of being able to say that I would be interested in being able to buy or sell. But once again, let's go back and let's talk about if you was. I'm gonna go based off of the hour and let's see what's actually happening with this movement. Currently, right now, what I'm personally seeing is a channel that's actually kind of moving up to the upside. And, or no, that looks like a rising wedge. For my people that know, is a rising wedge a bullish formation or bearish formation typically? Rising wedge, bullish formation or bearish formation? Always bearish. I always say when you take a look at this, think about a rising wedge like a roller coaster, right? You end up going off, and you end up making this movement. It gets all the way up here. Then after that, it starts ticking and ticking and ticking and ticking. And then once you get all the way up to that top portion, it's just like how you end up falling off the top of a roller coaster and then having that little bit of a U-turn to be able to fall down again. So that's essentially what I think is going to end up happening for this movement. It'll probably end up getting all the way up to the halfway point. If you are interested in being able to make a trade off of this one, the only trades that you can be able to make would be buying at support and then trying to get out at the actual natural resistance of the wedge. Um, to me, I think that there are better pairs to be able to trade than the kind of waiting and trying to get small profits off of wedges and be able to do everything else like that. The better move would be to the downside when the market actually truly breaks. But once again, like I ended up stating before, me personally, I probably would make a move until the market breaks below 1685. But if you are looking at being able to trade it, it would be wait for this market to be able to get to support. If it breaks a counter trend line break, when that happens to the upside, then look at being able to buy, try to get it up to this top portion of this wedge as much as possible. But make sure you run your trail stop as much as possible on that one as well. Right? Remember, the higher it gets into this rising wedge, the tighter that it's going to end up getting for its overall movement for the candle. So we've already done hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times when it comes down to support. At some point in time, this market's going to end up making a decision to truly get out of the market or to truly be able to make a decision to the upside, to the downside. there's more of an odds-on favor that it would be to the downside, though. Okay. I got time for one more pair. One more pair. Take a look at oil. Unless there's a pair. There's one pair that y'all would like to be able to take a look at before I end up taking a look at what's happening with oil. Take a look at US yen. All right, so go back to what I end up saying with gold. Gold, I said, was in consolidation. Because it was in consolidation, I would not make a move. Now, if you look at the correlation between obviously gold and the United States, is that gold has a crossover with the United States. So obviously, if the market is bearish, then that means that the United States dollar is getting stronger. You end up taking a look at gold. Gold has a correlation with the Japanese yen and has a correlation with the Australian dollar. So if gold gets stronger, typically the Australian dollar and the Japanese yen end up getting stronger. If it ends up getting weaker, obviously it's the same when it comes down to that. So if we keep that in mind, I would probably say that the market is probably in consolidation before even looking at it. But we go and take a look at the weekly. Just like what ended up happening with Canadian yen, the market has hit a weekly D extension. Because the market has hit a weekly D extension, me personally, Travis, as a trader, I would not look at taking a position yet until the market actually ends up breaking a counter trend line break to the downside. And that's when you can start looking at being able to scalp it to the downside. But we take a look at what's happening on the daily, we can see that U-turn is actually starting to happen. I think it was a few weeks ago, we ended up talking about how the market had an opportunity to be able to push up towards that 144 level. Once it broke the inner trend line and the outer trend line, it gave you a couple opportunities to be able to get in. Currently, right now, the market's in the sell zone. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to get rid of that, 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 get rid of that. Don't need you. Get out the way. Okay. Don't need that. So outer trend line here to here. Inner trend line here to here. Innermost trend line is here to here. Innermost trend line has not been broken yet. It would not make a move until the market actually breaks that innermost trend line. Once it does that, it'll break the innermost trend line and then go into the inner trend line. Once that happens, once it breaks the innermost trend line and retests that overall move, that's when I would end up looking at being able to make a move off of it. I would not look at buying at this particular point. The market is a little bit overbought. We can see the same thing on the United States dollar index, that all of those markets are showing signs that they will fall. So at this particular point, the only trade that I would look at being able to do would be selling at this point. Steve, what's going on, man? I hope everything's going well with you. Steve, I can stay a couple minutes for you. Hold on, let me go ahead and take a look at silver. Let's see. How did you do in trading today? First off, did you catch any of those trades that we ended up talking about on Thursday and Friday? Hopefully you end up catching some of them, because we went big fish hunting. Ask the kids, should I buy more? I would, but they're asleep. But they told me to sit up there and push it to the max today, especially on US 30. Yeah, they told me to push it to the max, and I definitely did that. Uh, let's see, just kidding. I'm sitting on silver. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. So Here's your fractal high. When you're saying sitting, are you? Let's see. Okay. Oh, so you're not making a move off silver yet? Okay, I get what you're saying. Okay, well let's talk about it real quick, and then after that we'll kind of close it out. Well, we'll close it out today. Oh, physical silver. Oh, okay. I remember exactly what you're talking about. I still had a website here. Um, on Gainesville Coins. I remember I ended up taking a look at that. I ended up taking a look at that earlier. I took a look at it when you ended up showing me, and then after that, I stopped paying attention to it because I was trying to finish up on one of my codes. But no, I definitely got to get back into it. I definitely got to get back into it and take a look at it some more. Um, but taking a look at this chart, it's in an R3. There's a sale that I will be looking to sell more, but it's on a daily. It's in the buy zone, so or the daily is getting closer to the sell zone. So I'll look at being able to do that. I was showing you the premium on American Silver Eagles almost time double. It's almost double the paper price. Nice, 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 nice. Yeah, I still have that written down. I still have my notes from the last time that we ended up talking about that. U.S. Mint makes the American Silver Eagles. Matter of fact, once we get out of here, once we get off of this, I'm gonna take a look at that again. If you like what I end up doing, and once again, I'm seeing a lot of familiar faces, and I do truly appreciate that. Really started to build out a strong community, um, even though it's taking a little bit of time. I'm truly fine with being able to do it. Want to do it right, and being able to go from there. I'm actually, while I'm saying that, I'm going ahead and tell everybody this. I am in the midst of being able to build um, a group that's going to end up being on Discord. Um, if you're interested in being able to learn a little bit more information about that, you can be able to private message me about that. But essentially, it's going to end up being kind of like what we end up doing somewhat here, but obviously more signals because I can be able to give those signals out throughout the overall day instead of the times that we only have within this overall area. So if you're interested in that, obviously I'm going to end up. I'll push out some more information about that along the way. But just to quickly review, um, obviously, um, US 30 is breaking out. It's already done broken out of the counter trend line break to the downside. Obviously, we're still looking at being able to get the rest of this overall move. It's going to have to retrace a little bit. Hopefully, it ends up building out a box so we can be able to work on that consolidation and be able to get in. Until then, I just kind of wait just a little bit. Uh, uh, I'm gonna mess up your name, so I'm just gonna call you T. Just find you today. Already a fan, man. I appreciate that, man. I work very hard, but we got a community. We got a community of a lot of people that do a lot of good work when it comes down to trading. So it makes it very easy. Um, DAX, the market is falling down to the support. Remember, I said look at being able to place an order just above 13,430. If you can be able to do that, then after that, you can be able to ride that out to 13,620 for its overall move, with the stop loss being just below the natural support at 13,330. I have not placed that trade in yet. I'm waiting for the market to actually be able to create the actual support. If it creates the support a little bit later on tonight, then I will go ahead and place in that pending order. Um, with the expectation that it would bounce up and being able to go from there. Nas, not. I'm getting somewhat anxious on that move. We already ended up getting most of that movement already. Kind of the same deal. It has to create a consolidation box at this particular point for me to be able to consider any move off of Nas at this point. Um, XPX 500, we end up making all of that movement today. So once again, congratulations to the people that end up getting in. For the first time watchers, obviously, as you watch it live, I talk about trades live. I don't necessarily put them as ideas because I really kind of I really want to make sure that the people that are watching live actually feel like they're getting a premium for being able to watch live and kind of get trading pairs off of that. So continue being able to watch live, continue being able to communicate, continue bringing ideas because it helps out everybody. But like always, make sure that you end up planning your trade your plan. I see each and every one of y'all 6:30 in the morning tomorrow, and we end up going from there. Everybody, take it easy. Have a good day.